Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 105, using ChatGPT and other AI-based tools in our web design agency today and the future. Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable From the Trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to another The Builders. I've had a rough day. Let's start with that. I have an old truck I've had for over 20 years. I just hold on to it because it's a great truck to haul things, working on the house, picking up lumber, going to the dump and stuff. It's just a great little truck. Not even a little truck. It's a full-size pickup, 4x4. But it broke down in the busiest intersection in the neighborhood today. It just died. It's not, the lights are still working. I don't think it's the alternator. I don't think it's the battery. It just went kaput. So I had to use my foot to get myself some momentum to go backwards out of the intersection and then get some help to push it to where it needed to go and then get a tow. That's been my day. And so earlier in the day, I was going to record this. Now it's later in the day. I don't usually record them this late in the day. But here I am. Because I wanted to talk about ChatGPT today. How exciting is that? How unique. No one's talking about that these days. It is on everybody's minds. And some people have a positive attitude about it and others are scared or worried or have a negative view. And for all different reasons. I've talked to a number of people about this, but what I'm going to talk about it is in the context of looking at it in the positive light and acknowledging that it's going to change a lot, and there is probably going to be some pain in certain areas with certain people, but pain that's manageable, right? I think. If you are able or willing to adapt. So let's dig into it. So first let's talk about that freak out, right? Some people are just anti-AI, anti-chatbots, anti-having a computer do stuff for them. What is ChatGPT? I'm not going to get too much into it. What I could probably do is actually open up ChatGPT and have it write a description of what it is. But the crux of it, as I've tried to explain it to numerous people, even my wife, and that was not easy, is basically it's an AI, it's a language model that basically has taken all of the content, I think all the content on the internet, a lot of content, and basically like chatbots in the past, it takes all that and then you prompt it with some question or request, and it spits stuff back at you. But this particular solution created by OpenAI is quite a bit better than what we've experienced in the past. It's pretty darn amazing. I'm going to share some experiences I've had with it and how it's being used and just the potential of just that. And there's actually this is ChatGPT 3. 4 is on, I don't know when that's coming, but they're talking about 4 already. And it's supposed to be even better. But, yeah. But, a lot of people are afraid of this type of thing because basically what it can do is it can generate content for you. In this case. So there's other solutions out there that can also generate. You've probably seen it around the internet too. Can create art. It can create, graphic design. It can do just incredible amount of things. I actually have a page up here from a website. Now, this website I just learned about. It's called Hotpot. Pot.ai. Hot, H-O-T, pot, P-O-T, .ai. And I haven't actually dug into this, but I'm only referencing it because of all the things it does. It can basically upscale photos and art. It can, so I think that means you can blow it up and like zoom in, and maybe it improves it. Remove backgrounds, which you can kind of already do with things like Canva, which, by the way, is amazing. That's a side note. I, for years, having to have done it for the last 20 years, remove backgrounds from images with like Photoshop. It would have been a pain. Now it's like, it's just magic. Maybe even Canva uses some AI to do that. They have to, right? Because it just seems too easy. You can remove images from photographs. You can colorize old photos. You can personalize art, whatever that means. Enhance faces. There's just all kinds of graphical things you can do. So it's just not just content. It's graphics as well. It's going to be video. People are writing books using ChatGPT. Yeah, like poems and music, lyrics. This is just, this 2023 feels like the year it's going to explode. And it is happening really, really quickly now. This is just going to get faster and faster, and it's just going to be madness. So that's why I think, as I'm going to talk about here, that we need to embrace it. It's not going away. This is too darn amazing. It's too good. And I know, like, especially I keep my eye on a few art communities and that side of things, because maybe of my background or just happen to see it online. I have a background in art, so I can think about it from that perspective as well, and how there's a couple different, I think people are worried that it's going to replace the artist, even on the graphic design side, like it's going to, are you even going to need a graphic designer? You can just have an AI bot do it. But also from a plagiarism or a stealing people's artwork. Like you can have it create artwork in someone's style. That's nuts. Say, I want to create a piece of art, and this is the subject matter, and I want it in the style of Picasso, and boom, almost that quickly, you have a new painting. So, yeah, kind of crazy stuff, and it's changing. It's so dramatic. Like I look at people's responses to it, or people just not even paying attention. Like my wife, I'm trying to get her attention about it, but she's not a techie. So, but people, like, even on my Facebook and stuff like that, there's like there's a few people that get it, that I see her talking about it, and maybe it's because it doesn't affect everyone yet, but it will. This is like so dramatic. Even from a consumer perspective, like the things maybe if you need somebody to do, to design something for you or whatever, that type of thing, it's going to affect so many things. The thing about it is, so with ChatGPT, it's been this explosion of just everybody's talking about it. This is how you use it. This is how you can implement it. And the internet marketers have just fired up. I come from the internet marketing world in the 2000s. I know how the internet marketing people are. Not in a, they're not all bad, but they really cling on to these things, and they're going to have, how to make $1 million overnight by using ChatGPT kind of thing. So that's going to be out there. It is already out there. I talked to a friend who's like, I'm so annoyed. He like follows some of these guys, and he's like, oh my God. But the fact of the matter is, this type of thing isn't necessarily, it's new in how good it is, But things like this have been being developed for a long, long time to help you shortcut and do things. We used to, speaking of 2000s, I mean, I used to do this. I did a lot of content back then. I was a niche marketer, did affiliate marketing, pay-per-click, SEO, and we would use it. I remember one thing specifically that was it was like software that could spin content. And basically, you could put, what I would do is I would have content written, and then, but I would also, I think that content, I would actually spin it as well, which means there was a program that could actually mix it up, like change out words and phrases and do, basically the goal was to make it into something new. And so you wouldn't have duplicate content, that type of thing. So especially if you were getting like private label content or resell, you could people sell content and stuff, and then you can make it unique by running it through the software. And there was all kind of parameters I could put in there, I remember, and including just how different I wanted it. It just, yeah, it was a while ago. It's hard to remember it all, but amazing back then, right? People might call that a little spammy sometimes, what we were doing back then. But we're just making unique content. It was, as long as it's helpful, it's not hurting anybody by seeing that content. I mean, if somebody lands on your website, it's useful, and it helps them make a buying decision or whatever. That was our thought process back then. So there's a lot of that type of stuff going on back then to help us speed up things. And, but it was pretty rudimentary yet. Fast forward to the last couple of years, internally here as a web design agency, we do a lot of content. That's just something I like to do. Probably not a surprise knowing my background. So, when I do it, I'm consistent about it. I want to put it out there on a regular basis, and I get help. I get help from a team, and they have been using, my content person has been using a site called Jasper. Now, if you haven't visited Jasper, basically it helps you create content. And particularly, it's really, really useful for an international team that maybe English isn't their first language, or maybe they're okay with English, but it's a great way for they can leverage that to help generate better content. And so we have a process where, using Jasper to help come up with ideas or create the content, and then we go through this editing process. I see everything, I edit it. And so we're not just pumping out spam. Everything's customized and personalized and everything else, but we use it as a tool. And that's going to be kind of the theme of this whole episode here. We're using it as a tool. It's not the end all be all. But Jasper has been really, really helpful for us. And I don't use it necessarily to create blog posts or anything like that. Not full out things, and you don't say, hey, write me an article, and then it writes you an article and you're done and you push publish. That's not how it's being used. So the people that are first seeing this type of stuff, they got to understand that this isn't, the bots aren't omniscient. They don't know. They're not humans yet. They're not human level yet. Right? They're not that good yet. You have to prompt them. You have to tease out what you want them to generate. And then from there, it's never perfect. There's repeated words or just, you have to know how you write. So you have to put in your own voice. Like I was recently doing some content, and I'm like, I wouldn't say it that way. That doesn't sound like Matt. And that's what you have to do. You can use it to help you get, even if you get 60 or 80% there, but then you tweak it and you it's just, it's just generating you a starting point. So we've been using that for some time. And now with ChatGPT, we're not really using it, but we have used it. And that's also what I'm going to talk about here. So we've been just kind of, this is on our marketing side, we're using Jasper. I haven't really used it for clients, I don't think, to date. And the reason for that is we don't really do content. We give the content to the client to do, or they have some other, we work with a lot of other marketers and agencies and stuff, and they have their own ways to create their content. We just implement it. We do the design, take that content, bake it into a design or whatever, or, yeah. So we haven't been, but now the things I'm seeing, it's like there are things that we can use from a content perspective using ChatGPT in our web design process, and potentially helping clients. And I already have a case right now. We're working on a project right now where I think it can be utilized. And let me give you this example. Well, number one, so I just learned, I was watching a video on YouTube, and I just learned that how you could use content from ChatGPT in like mock-ups, design mock-ups and stuff. And basically what that means is, so I was trying to explain this to my wife, so I'm going to explain it to you like I explained to my wife. But when you create a mock-up, right? When you create a mock-up, basically you use something called Lipsum. I don't think there's a name. It's let's see, Lipsum. Yeah, Lipsum generator. Lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum. It's a Lipsum generator. It basically creates placeholder text for you. That's like Latin. It's just gibberish to somebody that doesn't know Latin. I assume that if you did know Latin, it's saying something. I don't know what. Isn't that strange? I'm just thinking about that. Like, we've been using Lipsum all this time. We have no idea what it's saying. I hope it's not offending anybody. Anyway, but maybe you're already thinking, what if we don't need Lipsum anymore? What if we just need ChatGPT? And here's why I think this is really, really powerful. Because not everybody likes Lipsum. I've actually worked with 4 people that didn't like me using it. And what they wanted to do is they wanted us, and I can't even remember the context or who it was. It may have been working at Rapid Crush. Maybe there was somebody there. We were working on a project. I don't know. They didn't like Lipsum. They wanted us to, and maybe it was the demos we were creating for like our WordPress themes and stuff. But we wanted to actually use actual text, actual contextual text that was English. And the reason is because when we're demoing it or we're showing this to a client or a potential customer, they're going to have a better feel for what this design is doing and what it's communicating, and just you see it like it would be in the wilds, in the world, right? And it's just better than seeing, like, it's having just Lipsum. It's very distracting. And it's very there's no context there. There's no there's some psychological things going on there. But if you can now use ChatGPT in place of that, so you can, let's say you're creating a theme for an HVAC company, and you know nothing about HVAC, but now you can say, hey, you go to ChatGPT and all you do is you prompt it with something like, hey, I'm running an HVAC company. And I need 2 paragraphs describing what we do in this aspect of what we do or whatever. You just say that, and then it spits it out in literally seconds. It's one of the crazy things about ChatGPT. The processing power behind that has got to be just incredibly immense. It's just so quick. If you've ever used chatbots before, and I've played with chatbots for years, I love chatbots. Anytime I see a new one, I'm always playing with it, asking questions and messing around. But a lot of times there's a lot of solutions in the past where it's like you wait, type it in, wait. This is like instant. Doesn't even matter what it is. It could be a whole article, like quick. Anyway, I digress. But you can see how powerful that can be. So now we can create designs and create headings and create actual content. If we don't have the content yet from the client, or we're creating a demo of something, we can now have content that makes sense, because content is part of the design. It's part of the look, the feel of a design. So if, using just random lipsum is kind of, it's not good. So, it served its purpose. I mean, I'm sure there's still applications for it, but I just think that's one example though that I'm seeing. So there's another example. So I'm working with a project right now. It's a full design development. It's a pretty simple project. But the client has no content. He has no website right now. It's an established business though, but they just run everything through a Facebook page. It's a little crazy. But they look like they're doing pretty good. They got a lot of images of projects they've done and stuff. But there's no content. There's no, about. There's no, and nothing about, there's nothing to go by. So my thought process is, well, man, I can just, leverage ChatGPT. And this is actually through an agency. And I don't even know if we are going to end up with content, but we can just create content now. It doesn't have to be perfect. If we can create it and they could tweak it, if it takes me like a minute to go create a paragraph about something, or to introduce something, or to just because a lot of content on a website is short, right? And we're not talking about full articles here. We're just talking, I'm not going to do that. But a lot of times, like especially front pages, you might have, this, a little clever little quote here, or statement about, your mission statement or whatever is throughout, or something about one specific service that you provide. And it just needs to be 2 or 3 paragraphs. I might be able to actually generate that now and it'd be fine. So there's another application that I'm thinking about in what I'm doing. And it's not, am I taking that away from a content person out there that am I taking their job away? Probably not. In those applications, now on a larger scale, maybe, but like in those little applications I'm talking about, we're not hiring a content writer to do that. And the client's probably not hiring somebody to do that. The client's going to probably come up with something, themselves, or we'll work with somebody within our team to just write something, but it's just an extra value to our service, something else we can do that could potentially really, number one, deliver a project, like maybe we'd otherwise have to wait on content or something, but little things like that, I think, is where this type of thing can really, enhance what we're doing. It's just another tool. It's another thing. It's not the whole thing. We'll get into that a little bit, where this might be headed, but yeah, it's just another thing. There was another example where we used this, actually with one of my partners, agencies. So we were doing a presentation for a client, and my partner agency, one of the people there putting this presentation together, big presentation. I think we landed on 40 or 50 slides. There was all this stuff, and there was like 4 or 5 different people doing or maybe 3 or 4 different people doing different parts of this presentation. I had a big part. I had like 20. I had like half the slides because I'm the tech guy, and this was a kind of more of a web development focused situation. Anyway, there was a part where we're talking about, and I don't want to get too technical here, we're talking about headless CMS, headless WordPress. And we needed a definition of that. And I was going to write one up, right? I can write a definition. I can sit down and write 2-3 paragraphs. And then he's like, the guy I was working with, he's like, you know what? I'm going to just do it in ChatGPT, see what it comes up with. And then if you want to edit it, you can edit it. And so he did that. And so I saw the slides. The next time we got together, we saw the slides. And he's like, let me know on the definition. And I read the definition, and I tried really hard to find something to change and make it better. But I'm like, I read it and it's just great. I'm like, that's fine. That's good enough for our presentation. It saved time. It probably even wrote it better than I could have wrote it. Right. That's kind of a side thing that happens in my business. We're doing a lot of web development, design, all this other stuff, but we also have to do presentations. We have to win business. We have to do a lot of other things. So there's another application and how we've used it in our business. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret. So we'll also do content. So I'm kind of jumping around here, but I'm just all the little applications that I'm using this. So I did on my blog, mattlevenhagen.com, there is a new article. I hope to do more on that blog. I didn't write much last year, but I've done it twice now. I like to kind of review all the books that I've read through the year. And I read like 9 books last year. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write a review of these books. And I'm like, well, number one, the most important thing here is that what I read, right? This is Matt's reading list. I wanted to write a little something about each one, just a little review of it. And so I'm like, ChatGPT. So what I did is each book, I created like a little template. So this is, basically that says something about this is the author, this is the name of the book. Write it in this way from a perspective of a web developer, web designer, or from the perspective of somebody running an agency. And then I might add a couple other little bits like that, just to kind of guide it. And it would write it and just write a couple paragraphs. And it wrote it. And it wrote it for every single book. And then I went in and personalized it. Because again, like I was talking about earlier, that doesn't sound like me. But it was a great structure. It created the structure, and then I went in and I just kind of tweaked it and added some things. Sometimes it would repeat, like it said agency too much. So I would remove that or just make that more vague or say it in a different way. So I used it and I wrote it. Well, it wrote it, and then I modified it and made it sound normal in Matt's voice. And I won't do that for every article. This was it was number one, a little bit of an experiment to see if I could do it and how I could use it. But also it's kind of one of those things. I'm just creating like reviews, and they're accurate reviews. And it's really basically, just bullets about that particular book. And it would have been something I would have said anyway. Or probably wouldn't have, because I wouldn't have remembered. I'm not a writer. I don't see myself as a writer. So it's like that probably wrote it better than I could have ever wrote it. In that way, I'm not a reviewer. That's what I mean. So there's an application. Like I said, my other blog posts, I think it'll probably be more, just as an aid. Like if I'm trying to write something and maybe I need a definition, or maybe I need, how would you say this, or I need 3 bullets on this. And that can be another way you can use it too. Like I want to write an article about, a particular topic. Can you write 5 bullets, whatever. And then you just take those bullets and you just write it. or you can, ask for an outline of an article, something like that. I think that's really, really useful. For me, this isn't like my main gig. Like, I'm a designer, developer, running an agency team. That's what I do. But writing is kind of the side thing I have to do. And if I can have an aid and help doing that, that's great. And same with my team. If it helps them generate content and do the things that we need to do day in and day out, it's awesome. So I think it's just really this kind of shift in thinking that we need to do. I mean, there's so much. The shift in thinking is that, you can't look at it in a negative light. It's here, right? It's too late. It's here. It's been developed, and it's only going to get better. It's going to get crazier. It's going to get mental. And you could worry about it, worry about your job, worry about your craft, or you could learn how to use it and leverage it to do better. Because I don't think people want to get rid of humans. One of the things that you have to understand, and so I don't see, like, even if I'm doing those mock-ups or I'm doing, let's say I could do the whole mock-up. Let's say you had a bot that did the whole mock-up. Okay? Let's say you had that. Okay? Do you really think that just because a bot wrote that, or not wrote that, designed that the client is going to automatically be like, of course, it's beautiful? There's no way. There's no way. Just because a bot creates something doesn't mean it's great. But what you could do is maybe go back to that bot and say, hey, can you tweak this? And you want this color, this style instead. Or you may do that. You still could prompt it and do all that stuff. But there's still going to be this need for this iterative process, or you going in there and tweaking it yourself. Kind of like the content. It's going to be the same with doing layouts and different things for websites. I think certainly there's going to be tools that are going to help us build out custom sites and stuff like that, but I don't know that it completely replaces designers and developers. Not anytime soon, anyway. I think even then, if it does, there's still this need for human interaction to guide that process, to interpret things, to translate things. Because you have to, right now it's very rudimentary in terms of how you tell a bot what to do. You're not having a conversation with that bot. That bot's not asking you questions. It's not saying, well, Matt, do you have any examples of, this type of design and, just like, do you have a favorite color? It's not asking you anything, right? It's not asking you, what your tastes are, or, it's not taking in the feedback from the client. That still also has to be facilitated regardless by somebody, right? Whether you're a freelancer, an agency, or whatever, you're talking to a client, the client's going to want that personal interaction. If you look at all the other technologies that are out there and all the things that happen, even like call centers and all this stuff out there, people still want to talk to a human being and discuss things with a human being. So that human being needs to be knowledgeable and be able to interpret that. And again, use these tools as an aid. I think that's where we are today. I can't predict. No one can predict in 5 years, 10 years. You listen back at this in 5, 10 years and be like, okay, Matt, now the bot's listening to conversations and knows exactly what we need. Probably, would you mind if our bot's name's Mary. Mary would like to join us on our call to discuss your project. And at the end of that call, Mary will compile everything we said and have it designed to you in 5 minutes. It could happen, right? Yeah. So I think that's really all I wanted to talk about today. I think I see a lot of different opinions on bots. Um, there's a lot of opinions out there. Everyone's got an opinion, and some people are just running with it to, sell their next ebook or course, or they're jumping on the bandwagon for sure. That's not my goal with this, but it is it is something that's big and impactful. I hope that if you're listening to this, you found this interesting and maybe inspiring. I think there's a very specific way you have to look at these things. We, especially in the internet marketing world, we're always looking for shortcuts, ways to do things, kind of cheating the system. Either you've ever heard of like white hat, gray hat, black hat, black hat being, you're cheating the system. You're stealing traffic. You're doing this, you're doing that. This is more, this is not any of that. It's not, this is like the real deal. It's here. It's a tool. It's like, like your graphics programs that help you create graphics. This just takes it to another level. Your writing tools, that helps you write. It just takes it to another, we used to spin content. We have somebody, human content, it would be spun into something new. Now that's just, it's just generated from a massive amount of knowledge on the internet. But I think it's, for me and how I'm looking at it, I'm just looking at it. So I think from my perspective, it's a little bit different. I'm looking at it from the perspective of somebody that runs an agency. And yes, I love my team. And I think, I wouldn't want one of my designers, developers suddenly be out of a job, or be replacing them with a bot. What I hope is that I would be able to guide my team member and develop them to help them utilize these tools more, or to move them in a little bit in that direction to embrace the future and not be left behind. That's, I think, my role as the leader in my being the person at the helm at my agency, is to make sure that we're always keeping an eye on what's going on out there and the new tools coming about and all this stuff, and being able to help my team use and leverage those things so they can do better at their jobs and be more efficient, and can help in the end our company grow, and so that we all prosper. Going back to using Jasper, when I had started using it because I wanted to, because it was fascinating to me. So I like to test things, and I do like to write content and stuff like that. I'm like, well, if this could help, because that can actually help you with like social posts and stuff like that too. But if I can have this help me and shortcut some things, and do things faster and more efficiently, that's great. But then when I introduced it to my VA, who is from the Philippines, and she started using it, and I let her use it for a while, and then I asked her how she liked it, and she's like, "This is my new best friend." It's literally how she put it. It's her new best friend, right? Like, this is in the context of what we're doing there, in the context of creating content. It's making her job easier. It's giving her another tool to be able to help our agency create great content. And in the end, that's helping our followers and people on social media and stuff that read our content, because we can create really great content, and that benefits everyone, right? All right, well, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully my day will go a little bit better now that my truck has been towed. I have to call them in the morning now and see what the doctor says. Did my 20-plus-year-old truck, actually it's 1998, so yeah, we'll gosh, it's an old truck. Did it finally die? Or is it something simple? I forgot to put gas in it or something. Until next time, hope you found this interesting. Take care of yourself. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this episode's page, provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, or inquire about being a guest, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you are interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.